She's a journalist from the publication She Correspond Africa. Thank you for joining us today on The Headliner.
Thank you for having me, Monica. It's great to be here.
Well, we are going to be looking at a particular story that made the headlines, and I can almost imagine, what would you do if you were lost in some game park for 3 days?
And this is not just some game park. This is a game park where we have lions, we have buffaloes, we have elephants. I think I would be frozen to death because I wouldn't know what would happen to me in the next second or so. It's a terrifying experience, one that I don't wish to ever experience in my life.
Okay, so let's get the viewers to have an appreciation of the story we're going to be unpacking. So Andreas Holberg, I hope I pronounced that correctly. So he's a German tourist, and he went missing for 3 days, only to be rescued and lost in Matusadona. And just to imagine being rescued after 3 days. So let's talk about how the media covered it, because it was reported in the H Metro and Independent UK.
I think the media did a superb job because under normal circumstances we wouldn't have gotten to know about it. In this case, we got to have an appreciation of who the tourist is as much as we didn't have their age. We got a better understanding in regards to what he had come here to do, what it is that he had been doing before the predicament of getting lost or not being found somewhere befell him. And we also got an appreciation of the rescue efforts that were put in place by the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife rescue team. And we also got a better understanding in regards to what transpired until the time that he was found. And I believe that it was a wholesome story, brilliant coverage.
I love how you put it across, wholesome, you said. And given the media and how it covered it, the H Metro, the Independent United Kingdom, it's essentially important to have an appreciation of the processes that took place when you're looking at a rescue mission, because this is a German tourist lost for 3 days. You go missing for 3 days. It's more like your survivor edition of sorts. So let's talk about the rescue mission. How do you think that process was actually covered?
I loved how they articulated the rescue mission. We got an understanding that the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife deployed helicopters, they deployed numerous vehicles, sniffer dog, among other means of trying to find the lost tourist. And the good thing about it as well, apart from what I mentioned, was that we also got an understanding of what it is that had happened to him. His car had developed a mechanical fault, and it was a great thing that after all the effort from the Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Authority, he was found in good health 3 days later.
Does it also speak to how having stories like this, because we know we often have human wildlife conflict happening, and then you have a tourist going missing in a game park, which is one of the biggest game parks if we are to look at it, and the media jumping on it. Does it also speak to how the media is also trying to raise awareness around some of these human wildlife conflict issues, and also just trying to raise awareness in terms of when you're a tourist or even when you are in part of those neighboring communities where they are game parks, you need to be alert and be, you need to also have an appreciation of what to do and what not to do.
Yes, I think it's a great initiative. It's a great effort that we got from the media as far as, jumping on such kind of a story and making sure that we have a better understanding that somebody's missing in the first place, and also get a wholesome approach, a wholesome understanding of what transpired from the point they got missing to the point they were found. And I believe that this goes a long way, not only in making us locals understand some of the predicaments as far as human wildlife conflict is concerned, but also have a better appreciation to our tourists, so that they know, like what you rightfully said, that if they wake up and find themselves in such a predicament, how do they go about it in such a scenario? And the good thing about it, like what we got from the story, is that the tourist, when he saw that things were bad, he stayed in his car. It might have been uncomfortable, but I believe that it went to a greater extent, to secure and save his life, especially when you're in a national park whereby you have your elephants and your lions.
But often more than not, we have different coverage of story pieces, and sometimes we could have them one off, and we never seem to have a developing piece from a story, for instance, like in this nature of circumstances. What would you like to see the media do in terms of, now that we've seen Andreas Hochberg has been rescued, and it is one of those instances where missing for 3 days. Should we be seeing the media also making sure that we have developing stories from that, follow-ups to that, and maybe have other different kinds of pieces of writing from this story?
Yes, I believe that's of utmost importance, because if we really to take a look at it, we only got to understand and have a better appreciation of what had transpired after he had been found, which is different from maybe the point that he had gotten missing. And I understand that maybe that would have raised alarm and made people to be anxious, worse off, maybe we have somebody who was planning to come to Zimbabwe, enjoy our nature and all the beautiful fauna and flora that we have. But at the same time, I believe that the moment we have such stories developing, and we also have the bitter end, or in this case the better end, in which somebody would have been found, we do a follow-up, he shares his experience and whatnot, I believe that is of utmost importance, and it provides an insight not only to us as Zimbabweans, but to other tourists whom we heavily rely on as far as our tourism industry is concerned, to have a better appreciation of what to do, what not to do if they by any chance to wake up and be in the same predicament he was in. So I believe that when it comes to such, we can do more.
And in terms of doing more, would you say we have the other end of media? Because we do have magazines, we also have that side of media that cover tourism, that cover the other recreation side of things. What would we say should we be saying, you know, as a public, and even as media fraternity? What should we be saying in terms of also having a deliberate approach in having some of those aspects of human-wildlife conflict, the do's and don'ts, and also having an appreciation of the number of nature reserves or the wildlife parks or the conservation areas that we have in Zimbabwe?
One thing that I would like to appreciate is the extensive coverage as far as, you know, putting out the tourism resorts that we have, among other things. At the same time, I believe that the missing link in this case is maybe having an article on how to survive in a so-and-so environment, how best to navigate.
Absolutely.
In whatever environment you're in, as far as the tourism destinations are concerned, I believe that if you have the to-do and not to-do lists, light-hearted, beautiful, simple, straight to the point, we can complement the beautiful coverage that we're putting out as far as our tourism destinations are concerned. So we need that bit.
I love how you also are articulating it, because, you know, light-hearted. I know sometimes we can be so obsessed with some of the very hard news.
Yes, hard-hitting.
Hard-hitting. But in as much as this can be a hard-hitting story because it speaks to tourism, and tourism plays a very big role in terms of, you know, the gross domestic product of Zimbabwe. Let me deliberately bring you to the aspect of this week. We had a lot of events lined up. There was a lot of preparation as we counted down to the 25th October Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations. And while Zimbabwe is under those illegal sanctions, there have been sort of impacts, a lot of negative impacts that have hit hard on Zimbabwe in terms of economically, and also trickling down if we are to look at tourism. Now, with a piece such as this, where we are saying at the end of the day, it's a feel-good story in terms of the rescue that came to it. It also speaks much to say Zimbabwe is a destination of choice. It's it has certain elements in place, so you can feel secure. Speaking to that, as the media, and even while we are speaking of some of the negative issues that are aligned to sanctions, what should the media be doing? What should we be deliberately be doing in terms of media? And I know for the better part of it, there should be a sort of proactive approach to how the media should be branding Zimbabwe and putting Zimbabwe in a good light? This particular piece, in terms of Visit Zimbabwe.
Like what you rightfully said, it's a feel-good piece just because we ended up having somebody rescued. But I believe that as the media, it's important that we complement the efforts that are being put in place by the government, by His Excellency, among other relevant authorities, to make sure that we also do our part and we market Zimbabwe properly. At the same time, whilst we're putting out that we're saying we have the Kariba, we have the Eastern Highlands, we have this, we have that. Let's be innovative in how we come up with stories, how we package them, so that we make them wholesome, like what I rightfully said in my previous statement, that here are maybe one or two things to expect when you visit the Victoria Falls. Pinpoint those little things in good light so that our tourists prepare accordingly, and if anything wrong is to happen, they know what to do and what not to do. I believe that we need to complement that bit.
On the other lighter side of things, let's talk about, this was a print. This was a story that was covered quite extensively